hunter, he was cool, you know, and that, man, does that strike a chord in America.
The Green Hornet, crime-fighting newspaperman Britt Reed, was played by Van Williams. Van remembers how Bruce had to slow down his techniques so the camera could catch the action.
To me, it just went by as a blur. I mean, he was so fast. And in dailies, they went in to look at some of the stuff before he slowed him down some. And sure enough, it was just and a bunch of yelling and a black blur and people flying, and he was something else.
To promote the Green Hornet, the stars appeared on the hit series Batman. But Bruce's temper flared when the writers planned to have him fight with Burt Ward's character Robin and lose.
I'll never forget the day that the scripts came down on the set. All of a sudden I heard this, bang, slam, bang, wham. I said, Jesus Christ, because Bruce had a short temper, so did I. And occasionally we'd get ticked off about something and blow up, and then it'd all be over, and you know. But it just kept going, and it went further and further away, and all of a sudden I heard the outside door slam, and then I heard a car, and screeching brakes, and
Good thing those guys aren't in town every week.
Burt Ward was trembling in his tights because Bruce had put out the word he was going to take down Robin for real.
I tell you what, it's amazing that he didn't wet his pants. He might have his costume. But it was a very touchy situation there for a while.
In the end, Bruce made a joke out of the non-brawl. The scene was shot without incident, and Robin and Kato fought to a draw.
What do we have here? A Mexican standoff?
But Kato and the Green Hornet could not win the ratings fight. The show lasted just one season, and now Bruce had a growing family to support. Brandon was born in 1965 and was the light of his life. Shannon's arrival 4 years later filled Linda and Bruce's Los Angeles home with love.
He did the best at everything that he could, which includes being a father, being a husband, as well as being a martial artist and an actor and a philosopher and being a good friend to many people.
To make ends meet, Bruce returned to teaching Jeet Kune Do. Only now, his students were Hollywood stars like James Coburn.
Beautiful. That's it.
Bruce videotaped lessons to teach Coburn the ways of Jeet Kune Do. At the same time, Bruce was learning how to choreograph fights for the camera. Another regular at Bruce's backyard gym was basketball great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He gave Bruce a unique challenge.
I certainly tested him. My reach was a big problem for him. He liked problems like that because most people didn't test him. He was a lot more of a challenge for me than I was for him.
Bruce became enamored with Hollywood's rich and famous, and there was no star bigger than his student Steve McQueen. Bruce vowed to become just as big a star. Here, in his only existing television interview, Bruce talks about the training sessions with his big screen idol.
Now, as a fighter, Steve McQueen, now, he is good in that department because that son of a gun got the toughness in him.
Yeah,
I mean,
see it on the screen.
I mean, he would say, all right, baby, here I am, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he'll do it.
With all his expertise, the one thing Bruce Lee never did was compete. But he did teach the greatest competitors. Joe Louis was the top karate champ when he trained with Bruce Lee.
I was a student of his. There are a number of people, very famous fighters, who won't admit that Bruce actually trained them.
After he trained with the Little Dragon, Joe went on to win an unheard of 11 consecutive grand championships. In the the late 60s, Hollywood flirted with Bruce, but there was no marriage. He worked with Dean Martin as a fight choreographer in The Wrecking Crew and appeared in the movie Marlowe with James Garner. Bruce developed a script for a film to be called The Silent Flute and scouted locations in India with James Coburn. And he had a lead role in the pilot episode of the TV series Longstreet opposite James Franciscus. Bruce essentially played himself, teaching the essence of Jeet Kune Do.
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
But despite his modest success, Hollywood still would not invest in a Chinese star. The lead role in the TV show Kung Fu, a series Bruce helped develop, went to a Caucasian, David Carradine.
They were afraid that a Chinese star would not be bankable in Hollywood. He decided if he could not get into Hollywood through the front door, he was going to go around the back and come in the side door. And that is exactly what he did.
The door wasn't in Hollywood, it was in Asia. While The Green Hornet was just a memory in the States, it was a huge hit in Hong Kong. Only there it was called The Kato Show. When Bruce took Brandon to visit his family in Hong Kong, he was surprised to be recognized everywhere he went. Bruce Lee's star status was rising.
I've never seen anybody enjoy the celebrity that he was having in Hong Kong or any place. I mean, anybody else enjoyed as much as he enjoyed it. Sometimes people say, you know, was he spiritual? I say, yeah, perhaps, but I can see him much better in a Bentley than in a monastery, you know.
The Asian movie industry quickly saw his potential. So Bruce turned his back on Hollywood and signed a two-picture deal for $15,000 with a Hong Kong movie company. The first film was Fists of Fury. The movie was shot on a budget of just $100,000. The first director was fired midway through production, and much of the script was made up along the way. Working against the odds, Bruce Lee brought an element of realism to the fight scenes. At the Hong Kong premiere, Bruce and Linda sat in the back of the theater, nervously awaiting the reaction of normally vocal movie fans.
So the movie was over. It was stone quiet. Nothing for about 10, 15 seconds, seemed like forever. And then cheers erupted in the audience. People stood up. They turned to find where Bruce was in the audience, applauding him, cheering. It was the most thrilling moment of his career.
The world was about to get a taste of Bruce Lee's greatness. The Little Dragon would conquer Hong Kong. And then take on Hollywood. Billions of Chinese movie fans. And Fists of Fury smashed every box office record in Hong Kong. Bruce had become a martial arts superstar.
Bruce in Hong Kong, it's tough to envision now, but then he was the equivalent of a Michael Jackson times 10. Bruce was so massive, you know, that he could not leave his house.
The word superstar really turned me off, and I'll tell you why. Because the word star, man, is an illusion. It's something what the public calls you. You should look upon oneself as an actor, man. I mean, you would be very pleased if somebody say, hey, man, you are a super actor. It is much better than, you know, superstar.
Now that they had a first-class star to bank on, the Hong Kong Film Company doubled the meager budget for Bruce's second movie, The Chinese Connection. What's not apparent on screen is that Bruce shot all the fight scenes in excruciating pain. He was tormented by a back injury he suffered lifting weights.
And what's ironic about that is that despite the fact he had this debilitating nerve problem with his lower back, he blossomed as a martial artist. He became a better martial artist after the back injury than he ever was before it.